Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to First Seed Sports. I'm with my near and dear friends, Kyle, Mike, and Zach. Today we're going to be talking about free agency, wide receiver trades, and QB trades. But before we do that, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, First Seeds, Underdog Fantasy. uh, Underdog, it's just another gambling site where you're able to place bets on various sports. You can do March Madness right now, or you can do the NBA playoffs coming up. I recommend doing that. If you use First Seed on Underdog for a 100% deposit match on your first deposit, it's free money. If you're starting out, it's worth giving a try, man. Like I said, you're gonna get your own money back even if you don't hit. So why not use First Seed on Underdog? And without further ado, we're gonna start with free agency.
Let's hop in it.
Lots of moves this offseason so far. Lots of moves here.
So we're gonna start with Allen Robinson to the Rams. I'm not sure how I feel about this in terms of a fantasy outlook. I think he's going to like produce more, given who he's surrounded himself with now. But given his output before, I mean, he never really reached over 10 targets. He only reached that the first game against the Rams, ironically enough. But it's going to be interesting to see how Matt Stafford is going to get distribute the ball, given the fact that he has Cooper Kupp still. So, what are your guys' thoughts?
I
think. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
I was to say I personally think he's kind of a step up from what we saw from both Robert Woods and Odell Beckham Jr. last season, and he'll slot in as that perfect wide receiver 2. I don't expect him to have a wide receiver 1 season, but kind of be that second guy to Stafford, but kind of the leg up than what we saw last year. But yeah, I see him kind of that wide receiver 2 season, and just kind of getting those backup targets when Kupp is triple covered and kind of balling out with those.
I think from a fantasy perspective, I think you're going to get what you pay for with Allen Robinson. I think he's probably going to slot himself somewhere in that 6th or 7th round range when draft season comes. And you're going to be drafting him as a wide receiver 2. And I think he's probably going to end up being one of the safest wide receiver 2s. I think if you are going to take a swing on a guy like Brandon Ayuk or a guy like maybe even a Cortland Sutton or a Jerry Jeudy, depending on who you see as the number 1 there. I think that there's a much, much higher probability of Allen Robinson hitting than really any other wide receiver 2 in the league. I think with Stafford, he gets a better quarterback than he's had in his whole entire career thus far, except for that one magical season of Blake Bortles. I don't know if anyone's ever going to be that good. But shoot, I mean, I think I like it. I think he took a step up in scenery, but I think he's going to take a step back in his importance in the offense, if that makes sense.
Right. I agree with that too. I think exactly what you said earlier. You said that you're going to get what you pay for, and I think that's a wide receiver too. You're going to be looking at that probably 5th, 6th round, 5th, 6th round range for him this year, and I think you're going to get decent numbers. Like you look at what Odell did last year. Week 12, he's given you 14, 8, 13. Then he had a 0 game, 9, 9, and 1 to end the year. Like those are decent numbers. And if you look at what Allen Robinson is capable of and what he can do, I think he fills a big role on that offense. And I think he's a nice 5th, 6th round target this year to have as a wide receiver too.
Would you take him over Cortland Sutton? Would you take him over any of the wide receivers on the Broncos?
I mean, you know how I feel about the Broncos, man. Led by bum boy Russ. So,
that's so disgraceful, man. I can't even let that slide. Like, how are you gonna let that? He was injured the whole year last year, and he came back prematurely. Everyone knows this. You could watch it. He clearly wasn't himself.
No, that is true.
Now?
I don't think
I
he's
mean,
been himself for the past 3 years, though. So
he's got Javonte Williams, he's got Jared Judy, he's got
he
Cortland
does.
Sutton, he's got a better offensive line. I mean, let's just see what he's got a better defense. I mean, this is after this year. Let's make our judgments, but let's give him the year.
I agree, 100%. New change of scenery. It's a
But
second shot for him.
going back though, you wouldn't going into this upcoming season, you would take Allen Robinson over Jerry Judy over Cortland Sutton.
Probably not. No, I think I'm honestly taking Cortland Sutton because I think Cortland Sutton is actually in the position he's in can be a wide receiver one. And I think no way in hell will Allen Robinson be a wide receiver one with Cooper Kupp there. So that's why I'm probably going with Cortland Sutton over him, probably just for target share alone. But I don't think they're that far off. I think you're looking at 5th to 8th round range for both of them. And Cortland Sutton sooner, obviously, but
yeah, I think when you're comparing the two, you want to look at kind of ceiling, and with the ceiling of Cortland Sutton is probably much higher than Allen Robinson when Cooper Kupp's in this offense. So, I mean, just that alone, I'd probably take Sutton.
See, I'm actually on the other side of the argument. Personally, I would take Allen Robinson. I'm a floor guy, so like I like knowing what I'm gonna get every week. I figure like if you can piece together, 8 guys on your roster or 9 guys on your roster that are gonna get you 12 to 15 points, you're putting yourself over 100 points per week, and that puts you in every single game. Whereas especially with Judy and Sutton, like we don't know who the one is going to be because we've never seen them with a competent quarterback before. So, like taking that gamble and potentially getting the wrong guy, I would much prefer the 2 in the Rams offense than I would the 2 in the Broncos offense if I gambled wrong and Sutton happened to be the 2. Does that make sense?
yeah, I think you're saying that because the shaky QB play, right?
It's definitely poor, and I mean, in Denver, they're going to see a lot of big D's. In the AFC West, there's the Chargers brought in J.C. Jackson this offseason, Chandler Jones, new to the division, and the Chiefs always bring a big D. So I'm a little worried about Broncos receivers in general.
Yeah.
Well, last thing to note on that, Allen Robinson missed 5 games. For me,
I think he was just boycotting the damn Bears this season.
That may be so, but for me, availability is a big part, and that's just something to note going forward. Whether he has been injured in the past multiple seasons now, so that is just something to note. With the next, moving forward, we're going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster going to the Kansas City Chiefs. I actually really like this move, man. It's another situation where it's going to be a lot of mouths to feed in terms of Patrick Mahomes. But I think with Tyreek Hill kind of spreading the floor or the field, rather, it leaves more chances for Juju to play that Sammy Watkins role where he was able to get a lot of touches in the middle of the field, right, with Travis Kelce. What are your guys' thoughts going forward with that?
I'm excited to see if there is no competent wide receiver 2 in Kansas City because of Mahomes or because they're just not good. I mean, we've seen Byron Pringle, we've seen a bunch of other no names be second in command to Tyreek and then obviously Kelce. But like, is it because they're bad or is it because Mahomes doesn't throw to them? So I guess now we'll finally see somebody a little bit more competent that we've seen be competent somewhere else kind of step into that role. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited for that. But because of that, I may stay away from him entirely.
I guess I'm just going to play counterpoints today because I'm in on Juju. Personally, I think the last time we saw him succeed was when he was a wide receiver 2 in an offense. We saw that he couldn't really handle the wide receiver 1 load in Pittsburgh when Antonio Brown left. But when he had that receiver that could take the top off of the defense, he really, really thrived. So I'd like Juju. I'm not sure based on his ADP where he lands this season, whether I'll be in on him in terms of fantasy. But like I do like his prospects as an offensive player in this Chiefs system. I think if you take all of the random targets to Pringle and the random targets to what's the other guy's name? I can't even think of it. Demarcus Robinson, and the random targets to even whoever their second and third tight ends were. Like, and you kind of compile them into that one guy. I think Juju ends up with a nice target share in this offense. So he'll definitely eat into Tyreek a little bit and eat into Kelsey a little bit. But I like his upside in this offense.
Yeah, I think you finally give that target share to somebody that can handle his own and someone that Mahomes trusts. And I think it's just going to be a boost for the offense in general. Something we haven't even seen since Dante mentioned Sammy Watkins, if you want to call it that. So, I mean, they've never had that second or third, in this case, go-to guy. And I think they're finally going to have that. So I like him this year. I think it's a conversation where you could kind of bunch him in with Cortland Sutton and Allen Robinson somewhere in there. He's another guy that you're looking at, a wide receiver too. The only thing with him is you got to realize that he's always going to be the third option on that team. Whereas a true wide receiver too usually is the second option on their team. So it's the only thing to distinguish there.
Only one game over 10 points. Only never had any game last season over 10 receptions. Had a really bad injury, kind of ruined his season. It's another one of those, you're kind of taking a risk again because he is injury prone, but the ceiling is so high just because the offense is so potent. Again, what round are we kind of seeing them? I'm kind of leaning in the fourth, fifth. Maybe fourth is a little too high, just given the ceiling. But I'm saying maybe sixth at the very latest. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking probably 6, 7. You could even look 8 range depending on how you draft. But definitely like if you're looking for a wide receiver too, I think he's going pretty early. In the batch of wide receiver twos, I think he'll be up there. So I wouldn't expect him to leave round 10, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like round 6-ish. I see him going as like a wide receiver 3, kind of in the top 36, 40-ish wide receivers.
Right.
That's probably where I'd take him to.
Agreed. I'm with you, Kyle.
All right. Moving on, we're going to move to Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds going to the Dolphins. As if they already don't need more running backs. They have Myles Gaskin already, who they really haven't given that much, of a chance to take that spot. And now you have 2 other quality running backs coming in. As a football, just pure football analytics, it's a great move to have multiple running backs that are that dynamic in the backfield, but in terms of a fantasy outlook, I'm staying away from every single one of these guys just because you don't know who's going to take that lead role. And, they all potentially have the opportunity to take that, in my opinion. So for that reason, I feel more inclined with these moves to stay away from them. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yep, I'm out.
Yeah, definitely out. No interest. I mean, you look at Myles Gaskin. He didn't really get a fair shot, but he did see significant touches the past 2 years, and he was just an average running back. And I think who they signed, they're going to get a little bit of the same, but they're going to get that boom play. They're going to get that bang play, like the big plays. I don't think it's too big of a deal like having them on the team. I think it's upside for the Dolphins itself, but fantasy wise, it's no interest for me here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. This is just Mike McDaniel kind of trying to replicate San Francisco, get a bunch of competent running backs back there. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but I don't think it's going to be as productive as San Francisco.
Yeah, from the football perspective, sorry, Dante. I do like the signing. I mean, I think it gives Tua a much higher chance to succeed in this offense, especially with some of the line moves they made this year. He's got a check down back in Edmonds, and he's got a banger between the tackles in Mostert. So I think, I think it's going to be because they were kind of faking it till they made it with Myles Gaskin. He really doesn't fit an archetype of a running back. So I think that this gives them two clear cut guys in terms of being a scat back and a power back. So I like it, but I'm not touching in fantasy.
Out of this rotation, who do you guys think is gonna who would you take first if you had to draft one of these running backs?
Ooh, that's a good question because I think everybody. I think right now everybody is going Chase Edmonds, and I think they're right. And I think Raheem Mostert's going to show himself when they have that split back role. And I think Raheem Mostert, everybody's going to go crazy on, but it's just that injury prospect of that he's never been healthy. And I'm not a big believer in the injury prone type of deal, but this man consistently year after year always has something. So, I mean, I think it's a good move, but I would say Chase Edmonds before Raheem Mostert.
Same.
I think I'd go Mostert.
Hmm.
I think he's probably a more electric running back, but that's not to say Edmonds isn't right behind him. But I'd go Mostert, but I know first week of training camp we're going to hear one name and one name only. Who knows what name that is, but one guy is going to emerge as the main guy in this backfield.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, so that's it with free agency. We're gonna move on to wide receiver trades.
Few big ones.
I'm gonna start off with one that kind of grinds my gears a little bit, just because this was a player that really carried me over the past couple of seasons, and that would be Davante Adams going to the Oakland Raiders.
The big one.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I know he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver. I have no like questions regarding his ability and his fantasy outlook. I just think that he will take a slight step back, just given who's throwing him the ball, to be honest with you. It's not like I'm a Derek Carr hater. Like, I don't think he's bad by any means, but I just think Aaron Rodgers, the throws that he makes, and he was able to just throw it in the right spot for Davante, and that chemistry was just unmatched. They definitely by far had the best chemistry. QB to wide receiver one in the league. So I'm just curious to see, again, fantasy outlooks this is great. This is the same thing. He's going to be a top 10 wide receiver. There's no doubt about that. But I'm gonna miss that Aaron Rodgers Davante combo, man. I don't think you're gonna get those 4 touchdown games anymore. I don't think you're gonna get those 200-yard games anymore. I don't think Derek Carr is able to get Davante the ball like Aaron Rodgers was. So for that reason, still top 10 wide receiver, but just a slight step back.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised if he was a top 10 receiver, but I would be surprised if he was a top 3 receiver this year. And I just think it's because you got Hunter Renfrow now, who I think that's the biggest impact on the team. What's going to happen with him now is I think he's just not going to see the targets that he saw. I think he's going to see probably a good 70, 80 this year, and he'll go crazy with them. But Darren Waller there too. I mean, it's an issue that they have to figure out. Obviously, last year, Darren Waller did not have a season that anybody was expecting. So now you throw in Davante Adams in that offense. Is Darren Waller going to be revived? Is he going to be outside of the top 5 tight ends again? What's going on there? And you look at the D in that division now, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, you just don't know with the Raiders. And Davante Adams being that big of a name going there, I wouldn't be surprised by top 10, but I would be surprised top 3.
Just to butt in, I'm gonna again play devil's advocate here. Aaron Rodgers clearly loved to target Devontae Adams. Like, I'm not disputing that. But I would argue that Derek Carr is more of a gunslinger than Aaron Rodgers is. He last season, it's a little bit of a sticky statistic, but it's air yards, which is the total receiving yards that were intended if complete and incomplete passes were both factored in. Again, I know that's not a beautiful stat, but I mean that kind of just speaks to how much he airs out the ball. Derek Carr actually was higher than with Aaron Rodgers by over 1,000 air yards, which is insane. So like if you and Devontae's a guy that can go and get the ball. So like if you put the ball up there for him to go get, he can come down with it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's crazy to think that there is a potential that he could still end up as the number one overall wide receiver this season.
That could be a little misleading, though, given the offenses. I think when you think about it, Derek Carr had Henry Ruggs for a quarter of the season, and Henry Ruggs is a deep threat. I'm not saying Devontae Adams isn't, but I'm just saying that the way their offense was ran, Henry Ruggs was able, because he was such a deep threat, defenses had to kind of respond to that and have someone cover that, which allowed Darren Waller to kind of get free in the middle and that's how they would attack with Darren Waller. I don't know. I mean, Henry Ruggs is faster than Devontae Adams. I'm not, but Devontae Adams can still get that deep threat presence. I'm curious to see how often he does. I mean, that theory could work. Like it makes sense that Devontae Adams would just slide into that Henry Ruggs role. But I just don't think. Another thing was with the Green Bay's offense with Devontae, most of the plays that you would see highlight plays, they were like 5-yard plays. It would be Devontae just like juking out the dude,
slants and pivots mostly.
Yeah, and it would just be like immediate yards. That's why you would get those targets. But I don't know if Devontae. I mean, I don't know if Derek is able to just like slide those passes the way Aaron did it, and I think that's why you're losing a little bit of that target share. Not to mention, like Mike said, with Hunter Renfrow, who I think is going to be. I don't think he'll have a Cooper Kupp year, but he'll have that kind of leap like Cooper Kupp did, given the fact that Devontae and Darren Waller are going to be taking up so much of that defense.
I think the last counterpoint I'll give, and then I'll pass it over to Kyle. I think the last counterpoint I'll give is just that the Raiders are going to be playing in more negative game scripts than the Packers probably are. The Packers are clearly the best team in that division. I don't even know if one of the other three teams really pushes them for the division this year, even with losing the Packers' best player. And think about last year, how much we saw them dump off to Aaron Jones or dump off to AJ Dillon. So I think that if we do see a full season of Devontae playing on the Raiders, I think they're going to be in a lot more situations where they have to throw the ball and they're going to try to push it downfield. So that's just kind of, I don't know, maybe that'll counterbalance those, the lack of, I don't even know, whatever he's losing coming from Green Bay to Vegas, just a thought.
I'm fully with Zach. I think Devontae Adams, I love this man. I love this man in Las Vegas with the Raiders, and I think he'll still be I'll say top 5, because I think it's going to be Kupp, Hill, and then probably Jamar Chase, and then Devontae Adams, and then somebody else. But I think, he's going to an offense that loves to pass. This past season we saw Hunter Renfrow as with the 10th most receptions in the season, and then the year before Waller was 4th. So they throw the ball a lot, and Adams is going to get the targets. And maybe he loses a few because of Renfrow, but he still knows how to move with the ball. Maybe he gets a little more deeper passes, because I don't think he was relied on to be the deep ball guy in Green Bay, but in Vegas, maybe he can be. And because of that, I think he'll get all those deep throws. He'll get a ton of targets. And I honestly love him this year. So I'm with Zach. I think Carr is super competent as a quarterback. who I insanely love this season. But yeah, give me some Adams.
So we basically all solidified where we think Adams is going to be this year. What's going on with Waller? Is anybody in on Waller in 2022?
No.
I'd take him as a discount personally. That's about the only time that I would be looking to take him, and that's if he slides to the 4th, 5th, 6th tight end off the board. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
he's
gonna
not a
be looking
second
at.
rounder. He's not a second rounder anymore.
Definitely not.
I mean, at least this upcoming year, I wouldn't take him in the second round.
Yeah, definitely not.
Devontae Adams, 8 games over 10 targets.
A monster.
I'm sorry, 7 games over 10 targets, 8 games over 100 yards. Complete
ridiculous.
beast. Moving on, we're gonna move to Robert Woods, Tennessee Titans. I like this move a lot. I like this move, especially for Ryan Tannehill. That you're getting a speedster that's able to separate himself from a lot of defenders. Obviously they're not going to be, it's Derrick Henry all day, every day. They're not going to, move away from the passing game that much, but you have that deep threat who can take replace that Julio Jones or whoever that imposter was last year that called himself Julio Jones. He's not even on a team right now. Am I right?
You're right.
All right.
Jesus, man, what a fall off! What a fall off! But I think Robert Woods will slide right into that spot if he's healthy. He is with that team. I feel comfortable taking him in the 4th round. I'd say, I think with this we're gonna get a big resurgence. Hopefully, he stays on the field. We were sad to see him go last season. Given where we took him, I think I took him in the 4th round.
Oh, I had way too much Robert Woods last season,
and he started off. I mean, Cooper Kupp
right.
kind of took over, and that was that. But once he did have a game, I know that one of the weeks that was a was it Bobby Tree's game, but as soon I think a week after he got hurt, so. I think Robert Woods with this move, we'll see a good spot with him. What do you guys think?
I am out on Robert Woods, out on Bobby Trees.
Wow.
Same.
Wow.
He's going to a team that passed the ball the 25th most in the league last year. That's a team that does not pass, and that was without Derrick Henry. That's without Derrick Henry. They passed it bottom 3rd of the league. And you're tossing him in as the second option in that passing offense. And that was what I loved him for when he was in LA, was the volume. He could catch the ball 15 times a game. He didn't last season, but that's what he was. That was what he was doing. So he's not for me this season. I don't think it's a great fit for him. I think he's just what the team needs, a reliable second receiver. But in terms of fantasy, I don't see him being consistent enough for me to be at all interested in him.
He helps Tennessee more than Tennessee helps him. I think that's kind of the cut and dry of it. He's going to play a role. He's going to spread defenses out a little bit. He's kind of just that fill guy for an offense that's looking for a possession receiver. They've tried it with Humphreys. They've tried it with Westbrook Akine, or Akine Westbrook, however you say his name. And it just, it hasn't panned out. And I think that this is a great fit for them. I think they got a good value. I don't love that he's coming off an ACL tear, but I think they got a guy that's going to fit the role that they need him to.
Yeah, they definitely got great value on the pick. I don't think that's even disputed. That's great value for him. You pray that he comes back and he's 100% again, and he didn't lose a step. This is a guy, though, however, in fantasy I'm not touching. Kind of for what Kyle said, and I personally lived through it in fantasy last year, where Ryan Tannehill in 2020 was the 7th best quarterback in fantasy. Had 350 points on the season. Last year, no new coaching changes, no new nothing, no Derrick Henry, Julio Jones for half the games, and he has 255 fantasy points, almost 100-point difference. So I don't know what's going on in Tennessee. Fantasy-wise, I'm not touching anybody except Henry and A.J. Brown on that team, and I'll let everything else just fold out and see what happens because I don't want any fantasy part of it.
Does AJ Brown's role increase or decrease?
I think it stays the same.
Stays the same. Yeah.
Yep.
Bobby Trees, 2 games in the 9 games that he played, over 20 points. He posted over 10 points in those 8 games. We'll see if he can post that same, if he can continue that streak with the Titans. Last but not least, we're going to go with Amari Cooper to the Browns. This is the Browns. They're just so entertaining, and they're so entertaining in the offseason and in the middle of the season. We don't know what's going to happen with Baker, but who cares at this point? Deshaun Watson's there with that offensive line, with Nick Chubb, with that defense, and with Amari Cooper now. We'll see how they round out that offense with the wide receivers, because I know Jarvis Landry is out of there. But I think with Amari Cooper being number 1, I know he's got that injury-prone tag on him, and he does have games where if he's the number 1 and there is a solid corner on the other side, he will miss you won't see him those games. But in terms of that 1-2 with Deshaun Watson, I think you have potential there. There is a high ceiling. I think he could go down as a top 20 wide receiver. So that's where I kind of leave it with that. What do you guys think?
I think it all depends on what the heck happens with Watson. For this season, it's hard not to expect a suspension. And even so, Amari Cooper is the one and only receiver in town right now. Did they release Landry?
I think
so.
so.
They're going to re-sign.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, one and only show in town. Except for that tremendous backfield. But I love it. I think Cooper, whoever's throwing in the ball, we saw it when he was in Buffalo. Not Buffalo. When he was wherever he was. Raiders.
Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland.
Or Buffalo.
I was looking at Sammy Watkins earlier. I was like, oh, crap. I forgot he was a Buffalo Bill. But back to Cooper. Yeah, I think he's going to be great. He had a great jump when he was traded to the Cowboys. And I don't think he'll take a jump when he goes to Cleveland. I think he just kind of continues to be himself. I think he kind of gets the volume that he needs, being the one guy in town, and he produces. I think he's a very competent receiver. Probably if I had to rank him, maybe in like the early 20s, low 20s, I guess, maybe at 20. I have yet to look at the list of receivers yet, but that's probably where I'd slot him, just top of mind. And I kind of like, just volume-wise, what he could see when he doesn't have Baker Mayfield throwing the ball. I think it'll end up being Jacoby Brissett for a half a season. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's not awful. He's going to produce, and I kind of dig him.
Yeah, if we're talking Jacoby Brissett as his QB, I wouldn't consider him over any of the receivers we talked about today. That's for sure. At that point, I'm just not trusting him in a run-heavy offense with Jacoby Brissett leading them. But if it does work out where Deshaun Watson is playing, it's going to be hard to ignore the ceiling. The ceiling is going to be up there with any of the guys that we talked about today. I don't think Devontae Adams was, but I think he's going to be up there. It's going to be a hard miss. You're going to see him in the middle of your draft, and you're going to say, do I want this guy? Even though it's Deshaun Watson, it's a run-heavy offense, and it's a question of the volume. I think Stefanski's a genius, so you got to let him do his thing. But It's going to come down to the volume. So it's a tough buy, but it is a buy. Where I think that's a good question. That's probably going to take some time to see what's going on if they sign other receivers. Make sure Deshaun's actually playing, and I would go from there at that point.
Sorry, Dante.
Go. I was going to move on, but go ahead if you want to.
Real quick. I think Deshaun elevates him. I think we saw in Houston that he can single-handedly make a receiver incredible, and it doesn't need to be a full offense. It can be one person, and he can just succeed with that one person. So if Amari Cooper has that same gear that DeAndre Hopkins does, I'm absolutely willing to draft him on my fantasy team. I don't know how high of a price I'm willing to pay. I don't think I'm willing to gamble in the third, fourth round on him. Maybe fourth, I could start being talked into it. But that's about where I am on him, and it's all going to hinge on a suspension. If Deshaun is suspended, I'm probably hands off until the 6th, 7th round on Cooper. I'll let someone else take the gamble and play those first 8 weeks without a competent wide receiver 1 or 2. So that's where I'm at.
So we're all taking Hunter Renfrow over Amari Cooper.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Oh, yeah, probably not. Not with Deshaun Watson for a full season. If that's guaranteed, no way. If it's not guaranteed, if we're going into draft day and it's not guaranteed, then maybe. If there's still question that he's getting suspended, I'm probably taking Renfrow over Cooper. I'm not taking
Robinson or Cooper.
Cooper. I'm taking Cooper over both.
With Watson, we're saying?
I'm taking Cooper.
I'm saying overall. I'm taking Cooper over both.
I'm taking Cooper over Robinson. Yeah.
With Brissett.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Jacoby's good. He's not bad. He's not a bad quarterback. I mean, he can get you.
If you throw Brissett in there, I could see him throwing the ball maybe 20, 25 times a game. And they just, I'm pretty sure, re-signed Njoku. Like, they love their tight ends. Like, I can't see it in a run-heavy offense. I think Allen Robinson's production will definitely eclipse Cooper's if Brissett's a quarterback. But we'll see.
Amari Cooper, 5 games last season with under 10 points. Those games, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 24 yards. 4 receptions, 3 targets, 26 yards. So he does have games where you should expect that level of performance, but he'll also have that game like Tampa Bay. He'll have 16 targets for 13 catches and 139 yards.
That's when he's the only man in the game with no CD or Michael Gallup. Come on.
So we'll see. Moving on, we're gonna go to QB trades.
Let me butt in here. What if there's 4 of us. What if we did a little round of like what's part of the interruption or whatever it is not part of the interruption, around the horn on ESPN.
Okay.
We each have to take one of these 4 quarterbacks and explain why we think they are the best signing out of the 4.
All right.
You already know who I'm going.
I'll take Carson.
All right, Dante.
This could get interesting. Whoa, I thought.
Dante gets what Mike? What do you call him?
Hey, so listen, if we're gonna talk real, give me Russell Wilson.
What?
No.
You're not degrading. You're not worthy of talking about him. You're not worthy.
Kyle, you said you're going Wentz.
I'll take Wentz just because I know he's the worst, so I'll take him just to make some points.
Okay. I'll take Matt Ryan then. I'll take Matt Ryan.
All right, I got Deshaun.
All right, so who wants to go first?
We'll go in order.
Yeah, we'll start with Bumbly.
All right, let me pull up Russell Wilson real quick. But while I do, I mean, it's Russell Wilson. Need I say more?
Did you think about the stats for a second and then you put them away because you realized that the stats are terrible? Is that what happened there?
All right. So Russell Wilson of the Broncos, already now it's hard to say his weapons are better because Tyler Lockett and DK is obviously the best receiver on either team. But I think with the offensive line upgrade, with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, who I think is poised to have a breakout year, with Javonte Williams, who I expect to have a breakout year, and I have personally as a top 10 running back fantasy-wise this upcoming season. Um, I think he has way more opportunities to kind of distribute the ball, and I think with his injury on his finger fully, recovered, we'll be able to see Russ more patient in the pocket, not having to run, 24/7. I know it's difficult saying he's moving to an easier division. I don't even think that's the case. Now that the Chargers got Khalil Mack, and you have Pat Mahomes, and now you have Devontae Adams and Derek Carr. But I think given the weapons that he does have, we're going to see a Russell Wilson from like 3 years ago where he was in MVP form. And I think he's going to really take a step forward to be that top 10 QB. Again, and another thing was the Seahawks, that was a run-heavy offense to begin with. I think with this offense, it's clearly made for a quarterback that is able to throw the ball deep and as well as just distribute in the run game with Javonte Williams. So I think with that, you'll get a great offense, as well as just the defense being great in general. I have them going far, fantasy and not fantasy. So, yeah, big Russell Wilson fan, obviously. So take the bias with it. But, I have him being the top 10 quarterback this upcoming season.
Yeah, let me butt in really quick. So what is the situation with Melvin Gordon now? Is he not re-signed? Is he officially off the team?
No, I think he's still there.
I thought he was a free agent.
That's what I thought too. But
I've been seeing a lot of different offseason stuff with what's going on with him.
He is a free agent, but I think it's pretty much kind of like rumored or kind of thought about in the realm of the NFL that he's staying in Denver.
Okay. I just wanted to, because I wasn't sure. I was seeing so many things, so that clears it up.
Even if he stays, though, I think Javonte kind of usurped that position given his ability. I don't think Melvin Gordon will hold that position for long, even if he does come back. So,
yeah, at this point,
Melvin Gordon was like the ultimate fantasy safety blanket this year. Like, oh, someone's hurt, throw Melvin Gordon in there. Oh, I got to buy, throw Melvin Gordon. He was like guaranteed 8 points every single week. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I guess, Kyle, we're up to you. Go ahead. Let's hear Carson Wentz.
All right. Hear me out. Of these 4 quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan, the one man of these 4 has won a Super Bowl. Oh, no, sorry. Russell won a Super Bowl years ago. One of these men elevates their team more than the others, and it's Carson Wentz. Not to say he's the best and elevates them better. I'm saying without them this previous season, Carson Wentz makes the Washington Commanders better than Russ makes the Broncos last year, Watson makes the Browns were last year, and Matt Ryan makes the Colts were last year. I think Wentz going to Washington makes them better. just by being competent. I think the best quarterback they've had in years was Ryan Fitzpatrick, and we barely even got to see him play last year. So
it's true. Very
throw
true.
in Wentz, and they're better. I don't think Matt. You guys can't deny that Wentz is going to win one more game for the Washington Commanders than they had last year, because technically they had 0 last year.
It didn't exist last year.
They can't get worse. Okay,
they can't get worse. However, I do think that he makes them. I think he elevates this team more than the other quarterbacks will elevate this team. The only one I can probably has an argument is Russell Wilson. However, I think the difference between Teddy and Drew Lock, isn't insane or a large amount, but it's definitely smaller in my mind than Heineke to Carson Wentz. And that is why Carson Wentz is the better trade than these other three.
Okay.
If you say so.
29 attempts, 17 completions, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 185 yards. With the best offensive line in the league, the best running back in the league.
So he didn't need to throw it much.
And 12 points. And 12 points against the Jaguars. Didn't get the
So he didn't need to throw it much. They have the best running back in the league.
They need that game to win. They need that game to go to the playoffs. They lost to the Jaguars.
Hey,
so.
all I said is he's going to
if you want that guy,
he's going to win one more game than they had last year.
By all means,
that's all he needs to do.
Go for it. Who's up next?
I think I got next.
Deshaun.
All right, so let me start off with this argument. The Browns went 8-9 in 2021. Of those 9 losses, 7 of the losses were by 1 possession or less. In a game that you are losing by 1 possession or less, you need your quarterback to be able to lead the team down the field successfully, and typically you do so by throwing the football. Baker Mayfield was the worst quarterback in the whole NFL at throwing the football in 2021. Maybe with the exception
of Watson even throw a ball in 2021?
Carson Wentz threw 2 interceptions from the 1-yard line.
Oh, gross.
in week 17 alone or week 18 alone. So I lost my train of thought. Damn.
Yeah, those stats are so baffling,
So anyway, they lost 7 of those games by 1 possession, and the perfect person to fix that issue is Deshaun Watson, who is a certified just baller at the position. We're going to overlook the things that he may or may not have done because it could be potentially very bad. And he's probably getting suspended. But if you look past that and the fact that they spent 3 first-round draft picks on a guy that could potentially never play in the NFL again. But if we look past that, he's an incredible quarterback. And in 2020, when he last threw a football, Kyle, he led the NFL in passing yards. He had 4,823 passing yards and the second best interception to touchdown ratio that year. The third best, sorry. So he is a legit top tier quarterback. I think he slots in maybe only behind Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady in terms of being the best quarterback in the whole NFL. Who else? Oh, Patrick Mahomes. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Don't you dare say Carson Wentz.
No, I have something to note.
Okay.
In that big season of his.
Yes.
How many wins did they have?
4. But
who would you take as your wide receiver one?
But Kyle, wait. He was second in the league in sacks that year. Behind guess who?
Nobody.
Carson Wentz.
No.
Of course.
And he was one ahead of Russell Wilson. So and 2 ahead of Matt Ryan, which is just incredible. Wow. That goes to show what we're talking
Let's
about.
Be honest.
Russ running for his life, but he's trash. Russ running for his life every game, but he's trash.
Fun boy Russ. There aren't any nicknames where Mike is from about Deshaun Watson. So, I mean, if that doesn't say that he's the best quarterback here, I don't know what does.
Yeah,
I digress.
You get Deshaun. Deshaun's healthy, man. He spent all offseason with the trainers. He's good to go. So, all right, but listen, we're going to shift gears here to the best upgrade, okay? And we're talking about Matt Ryan. Super Bowl appearance, Matt Ryan. So,
Zach, I will say only one man on this list hasn't appeared in the Super Bowl.
That's right. That's right.
Enthusiasm.
Only quarterback to have a lead in the fourth
Carson
quarter.
Wentz was there. He didn't play.
That's all I said.
Carson Wentz does have a ring.
He was
there. Has a ring. So
Snoop Dogg was at the Super Bowl this year. He didn't play. That doesn't make him one of these best four.
Where was Watson?
Carson did like actually help out though. He played a couple games in the beginning of the year.
And then
all I saw Watson do in his best season was choke a big lead over Kansas City.
That is true. That
hard
he did do
hard
that.
To play defense when you're the quarterback. I mean,
he did do that. But don't forget, so did Andrew Luck, who Matt Ryan is now replacing his legacy. So I'm telling you, Matt Ryan, man, coming in, and I think the upgrade from him to Wentz is that he will get them to the playoffs this year. I see them. Go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
I think you mean he's replacing Wentz's legacy.
Wentz's legacy. Oof. Wentz's legacy, man. Listen, he left a big stain in the NFC East first. We loved him over there. And then he went to Indianapolis, led the division almost, couldn't even get into the playoffs. Sad. And that's where Matt Ryan comes in. Oh, that beautiful pictures there.
Ooh, the mustard man.
I think Matt Ryan is an upgrade from Wentz to that he gets them to the playoffs. They could win a game. They're not Super Bowl contenders. With the run game, it's sad to say they are not Super Bowl contenders. There's no way that I could see Matt Ryan taking that offense and making noise in the playoffs. I don't see them competing with a Bills team or a Chiefs team. And take that with a grain of salt, because I would have said the same thing about the Bengals last year too. And look what they did. They got hot at the right time and made it all the way. So, I mean, you never know. The guy's obviously there at the end of his career now. He's going to retire with them. But I'm in on Matt Ryan. And I think the upgrade that he brings from no playoff wins to playoff wins, oh, man. One playoff win, one playoff appearance, man, I'll take that any day. Dude. And if you look at these four quarterbacks real quick, if there is one that has the best shot to take a playoff snap this year, it is Matt Ryan. It is in no way Carson Wentz. If the Commanders make the playoffs and Dallas doesn't, I will give someone on here a free jersey of your choice. Mark my words.
Ooh.
And we put that in writing, okay? So listen, Wentz is out of the discussion. Watson would have a chance with that team. And I think you get the Bengals back. I think the Bengals are going to be another solid team this year. You got the Ravens, hopefully with a healthy Lamar. They'll be right there with the Bengals. And then you got a Steelers team that I think with Mitch is just going to basically coast by the whole year. I think they're going to be maybe a little bit above 500 team if they have success in the division. But for the most part, I don't see them making noise. And you have Deshaun mixed in that division with a pretty solid Browns team, but a Browns team that hasn't done anything as of recent. So it's going to be a tough division to play in. I think the least divisional troubles is Matt Ryan. Russell Wilson, that division is absolutely nuts. Look at the D's in that division. It's just ridiculous. So I don't want to be in that division this year. Not at all. And you look at the D's that Matt Ryan's dealing with, and anybody could take them on. I mean, not a threat. Yeah, I mean, you talk about the Titans, who are choke artists. They've proven it. Tannehill's lost in the clouds. Tannehill's playing like Russell Wilson. You got the Texans now with David Millis. No quarterbacks there. Millis. I love the guy. Long neck Mike Lennon clone. So you never know. But Matt Ryan, I think, has the highest chance to take a playoff snap this year. And I'll end it with that.
What do you see? That was really nice, man. That was really nice. Where do you see Matt Ryan fantasy wise ending up in this upcoming season? Do you see him being a top 15 QB?
Hey, listen, when they put Julio Jones in the Hall of Fame, they're going to mention Matt Ryan's name because that man feeds people the ball. He does not look twice. If he knows the play is going to the left side, he's throwing it to the left side. And Julio Jones was saving his ass for years. And he is a guy that will feed you the football. So I'm not worried about that at all. I think all the fantasy guys around him, including Jonathan Taylor, are going to see a huge increase this year in fantasy production. Michael Pittman, I think, bumps up 3 rounds from where he was taken last year. I think that whole offense is going to see a huge increase.
Where was Michael Pittman? What round was he picked up?
He was late last year.
Coming in as a rookie, I believe he had an ADP of like 8-9. We could double check that, but I know it was late. He wasn't being mentioned up there, and because T.Y. Hilton was still being drafted ahead of him last year. For the most part, you had Paris Campbell, who's still in the mix at one point. So I think this year this is the leap they take. I think Matt Ryan's a gunslinger. He's going to throw the ball, give everybody chances, and I think the fantasy production is going to be way up. The wins, maybe not so much, but we'll see.
All right, and I think that's it with QBs. I'll leave the people that in the comments to decide who won that debate, but I think it's clear. I think it's clear who won. I think it's clear. But we're gonna move on. I think. Excuse me, please. All right.
I'd also like to say I'm sorry, David Millis. I love you, bro.
Jesus. All right. I think is that it, guys, or are we done?
Kyle, I have an important picture.
Send it in.
Okay. I think it just goes to our quarterback argument.
Let me toss this over here.
Yeah, that one quick.
Let's get it pulled up. What are we looking at here?
Let's see here.
Oh, wow. That man would be great in Pac-Man, bro. That man. Oh, man.
David Millis, ladies and gentlemen.
What a specimen.
Jesus Christ. That's ridiculous.
That's not edited? Come on, that's got to be photoshopped.
Dude,
imagine doing like back squats with that, with the bar like rolling up your neck like that. That's a long neck,
bro. Man.
Oh, that would hurt my neck.
Look at the rookie picture.
Oh my god, dude.
Wow. This is on NFL.com.
Look at the Peyton Manning one.
David Mills next to Peyton Manning. It's David Mills and Peyton Manning's forehead.
Oh my god, man. No,
his neck isn't that long, is it?
Yeah, it's that
Dude,
long.
This is on NFL.com.
No, Peyton Manning?
No. This is Peyton's head on this picture.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I wonder what happened. Like, he looks kind of normal there.
He looks like Matt Ryan with a longer neck, and now they're playing against each other twice a year.
Does Matt Ryan have a long neck?
No.
Matt Ryan, for the most part, does not have a long neck. I don't think so. But very similar build.
There are times when he does have a long neck, though.
I mean, don't get me started.
I'd like to get you started. That's what I like to do that.
I mean, shit, you get David Miller started. He could make a few bananas disappear. So
let's see. In comparison,
a couple soft D's, if you know what I mean.
Oh, jeez. All right. With that said, we're gonna end it here, guys.
Me and my main man, Carson.
Why doesn't he have a helmet on?
He's too cool for a helmet. They didn't fit his big brain.
Yes, head.
Wow, these QBs do have a lot of neck. Let's just say that. A lot of guys here.
Be sure to use first seed on Underdog if you're going to be using Underdog this upcoming for March Madness and NBA playoffs. Bet overs, unders for any of the players. I'm going to be betting on Ja Morant going against the Nets.
Hop
I
into
think
some
tomorrow.
into some best balls.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Best ball
sir.
drafts with us. NFL is open, and I think there's some random sporadic NBA. What do they call it? The pick'ems. They've been doing a bunch of stuff with March Madness as well. So feel free to jump in, pause a little cash, get a little bonus. Code first seed.
No match 100% on first deposit. So, with that being said, we'll end it here. It's a pleasure doing this with you guys, and it's a pleasure doing this for the fans as well. Until next time, peace, guys.